So in this rule, I want to introduce you to what we know as the quotient rule. And the quotient rule is the pattern that you use when you're trying to find the derivative of a function which is a smaller function divided by another smaller function. And this is the pattern that we use, and this is the pattern from the formula sheet. Now, things you need to know. U is always the function in the numerator. U is always the function at the top, and V is always the function in the denominator. The most common mistake in using the quotient rule, which amazingly is to forget the square on the denominator. Now, like I said, this is on the formula sheet, okay? So make sure that you're getting the quotient rule correct, all right? Use the formula sheet if you're a little bit dodgy with it. Getting the numerator terms in the wrong order. So you can see here we've got v du dx minus u dv dx. Now, with subtraction, you can't swap these two things around. Okay, subtraction is really important that you get in the right order because 3 minus 2 is not equal to 2 minus 3. You must get them in the correct order. Okay, so that's the second one, and then the second most common mistake. And then the third most common mistake is this is different, this minus is different to what you've got. It's very close to the product rule, but it's not the product rule. And what students often do is they'll write a plus here instead of a minus. So make sure that you get the formula correct. You get the formula sheet in both exams, so it's there for you. It's in yellow, it's bright goldy yellow. Use it. Make sure you get the formula right. So where did they get the quotient rule from? Well, if you start with a function that is a smaller function divided by another smaller function, you can use first principles for the derivative of that point and substitute in your f of x plus h. So x plus h, f of x plus h is u of x plus h over v of x of h. So substitute that in for that. Minus f of x is this all over h, and then simplify. So I'll do this in another video to show you how you end up with the quotient formula, but you can see it's a long-winded process, but at the end you end up with the quotient rule. So let's do an example. Let's find the derivative of this function here with respect to x. So the first thing we need to do is we need to identify our u and our v. Like I said, the u is always the numerator, the v is always the denominator. In our formula, we need the derivative of both of those. So let's find the derivative of both of those. For our cos of 2x squared plus 1, we need to use the chain rule. So the derivative of cos is negative sine, and the derivative of 2x squared plus 1 is 4x. And then we need to substitute it correctly into our quotient rule formula. So substitute in carefully, making sure that you remember minus in the middle, and it's minus the whole of that thing, and that you have the squared for your bottom term. Now you can see we've got 2x squareds all over the place, 2x squareds at the bottom. Be really, really careful here. You can't cancel out 2x squared when it's sine of 2x squared with a 2x squared on the bottom. Can't cancel that with that. Can't cancel that with that. Can't take this out as a common factor from any of these. And so you'll need to just tidy up a little bit with this multiplication at the front here. This would be an assumed kind of tidy up that you would do. Bring this to the front as well, so that it looks something like this. And then from here, how much you need to simplify, whether you need to simplify, will be determined by what their advice is on the exam about how they want your answer to be. If they don't specify it in a particular form, then just leave it in the form that you've got it. Don't play around with it, because like I said, if you muck it up, it becomes wrong. Okay, so normally these sorts of questions are worth 2 marks. 1 mark for some kind of correct use here of the quotient rule, and then another one for tidying up a little bit, sometimes tidying up a little bit.